Wulwyn, how are you today?
Oh, how am I? Oh, I'm a duck on top, chilling as ever, but under paddling. Today had to take my daughter for her, so it had an ACL tear, 2019. Entire 2020 was recovery, and PT. She started full-blown basketball with ABC Lightning, Coach Gary Williams, and they are going full speed ahead. He has them getting up 5:30 a.m. to do
Oh my
early
gosh.
workouts, and I'm so happy that the individuals who are there love basketball because only lovers would do that. You can't, you can't. I'm not getting up at 5:30. My son is taking her at 5:30. I don't love basketball like
Nice.
that anymore. But she had the coach, another coach, a strength coach, Coach Deidre, has been looking at Jazz and saw her and said, "Hey, you're running kind of sideways. I
Mm.
think you need to go and get a functional test." So went to get the functional test today at 11 o'clock. Was thinking I would have been late. We would have canceled, but hey, we are here. So how am I feeling? I'm grateful. I'm grateful that we didn't cancel, even though I had planned to do it in the car. I don't know how that would have gone, but I'm good. I'm good. We
You're making it
pivot,
happen.
we pivot. We. I think that's what there's a program we do, Elite Mindset. I think that's the elite mindset that we have in this place where we make it happen. So I'm
Yeah,
good.
you said something before we went on that I thought might just be something creeping through, a thread creeping through for today's conversation, and that was about safety. We're in a safe, you said we're in a safe place when we were
Yeah.
praying, right? And you said, we get to be aware that we're in a safe place.
Mm,
And I
mm.
think, so it was interesting. I love what you said. I mean, a couple things, I think a lot of what COVID did for a lot of people is that, it completely rerouted our day to day. And that in some ways really helped us. In other ways, like I look at my daughter and she's like, Mom, you're always harping on me to get up and do something, but she's become a lot more sedentary. When they were in
Okay.
school and they were in athletics, I mean, she tried, she was cheerleader,
Mm,
so they have practice. Well, that all went away. And so then it was like, okay, kids don't love going for walks and stuff like that, but like, how can we keep them, constantly
correct.
physically active? And, she's kind of fallen into this trend of like sitting around. And, so I think one of those pieces is, how do we recreate these habits, right? We have these habitudes now that we've created. And one of them is, so it was interesting. I was out yesterday and went to go see my acupuncturist, and I'm on my way home. I didn't know about this whole gas crisis thing, right? I mean, I knew about the pipeline, but I didn't know that people were like freaking out and it was a toilet paper crisis all over again. And so I'm leaving and I'm so chill. I'm so zen. Like I love my acupuncturist. She's at, Dr. Rebecca Sutphin, shout out to her because she's amazing. But I'm just driving down the road and people are flying by me. And and then we'd pass, like I'm on 64. So there's all a various number of gas stations along the way. People are
Uh-huh.
cutting off to get over to get, and I was like, what? And then of course that made me realize, oh, I probably should stop and get some gas. But I'm like, I wonder if this is some crazy gas thing going on. Well, sure enough, everyone I passed, no gas, no gas, no gas. So I'm like, well, shoot, I'm going to go into Pittsburgh. And little tiny downtown Pittsburgh, there was a line just to get into the town because there's like one way in and one way
Way out.
right. So once you get in there, everybody's going off the highway to try to get
Get the
gas in these
gas.
little towns and stuff. And I'm like, but when I finally got home without gas, when I
Hmm.
finally got home, I realized I had to kind of reground myself because I was in my own energy, but just that collective surge of freak out had
Yes.
affected me. And I was like, why am I feeling so like I had a great day? I just was feeling totally relaxed. And then I'm now feeling all anxious. This is how contagious fear and anxiety is. That
Yes.
I'm not even with the people, I'm just driving by them. And
Yes.
I'm picking up that anxiety and then feeling like, well, shoot, where am I going to get gas? And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Just whoa.
Yep.
This is crazy. But that's, I mean, that's a real thing. And I think that that is something to be aware of, is that what we put out there is contagious, not just COVID. COVID's
Very.
not the only contagious thing, people. Like, your energy is contagious, like you need to get right with your energy, because whatever you're putting out is being picked up. And if it's not beneficial, man, that could turn into a whole storm that nobody wants to walk into. It's like a vortex of fear.
It does. It does. Strangely, I had the same. That just, golly, girl.
Isn't that crazy?
It's-
Michelle's like, what? Me too.
Yes, because when I yesterday we went. Where did we go? We went out, and there was a snake of cars, of vehicles, and I looked and I said, and oh, the first thing was night before last, someone texted us, oh, gas shortage, go and get gas. So I told my wife, it's okay. I said, I got a full tank, which really was a quarter, but it's full.
That's a man's version of a full tank. Is
You
a
know.
quarter. Women, if you don't know that, just know. Yeah. I left you a full tank, honey, and you get in as a quarter tank. It's like,
don't you know we can drive at 55 miles per hour because it's efficient, and you just cruise, and that quarter tank can be as if it's full. Yeah, right.
I know how you work. I know.
But
I'll tell you ran out of gas.
I know, and then you're like, honey, can you come and get me? But we saw this, and all of a sudden something loomed over me, and I'm like, oh my goodness, COVID's here, or leaving. We have India going on with COVID, and year goes, oh, wood prices are high, can't do any projects, and oh my goodness, gas now, gas. Oh, and then I had to really, really center myself and go, so what? I said, I just might buy a bike, because I'm going to bike to wherever I want to go and just tell you guys, hey, I'm going to be late by 2 hours. I'm biking over there. And
We're thinking about getting a horse and carriage over
there
here.
you go. If you can't wait, I'm coming. Or we can Zoom, because why? I saw a picture. I saw a picture of this couple, 5 to 10 gas cans, 5 gallon cans. They are there, putting it in there. And I'm thinking, but you're the one causing the shortage, though.
That's it. Well, it's not a shortage. That's the whole point. So finally came out in the news, there's no shortage. It's that everybody's freaking out. And then it's the same thing with the toilet paper. You got the people stocking up for like 2 years worth of toilet paper. So the people who just need it for the next week can't buy any. I mean, the freak out becomes so me-centered, like, again, because we go into the reptilian brain, and that's the Lord of the Flies. For those of you who never had to read the Lord of the Flies back in what, 6th, 7th grade, whatever that was, that's that reptilian brain, the survival of the fittest. Like, I'll kill you to get the food I need if it means I get to feed my family, kind of thing. And we don't think when we're in our reptilian brain. That's the whole point. Our executive brain's up here, our reptilian brain's back here. Right. And when we stop thinking, and see, this is the problem, is that most people are not thinking to begin with. So even on a good day, we've trained ourselves in habitude to be unsafe. So as soon as something, even a whiff of insecurity or unsure, an unsure situation, like, will gas be there tomorrow?
Correct.
People just go into that hyper reactive mode, and then they're not thinking. It's like, you don't need a month's worth of gas. You're not even thinking, like, and the only reason all these places went dry was because everybody came out. I mean,
at the same time,
people who didn't even need gas came out with all their gas cans and stuff.
Yep.
So, they only keep, each gas station only keeps a certain amount of gas in their tanks, So then people are like, oh my God, now there's a crisis. Because no, there was never a crisis. The crisis was of people going into that's the crisis. People going into reactionary mode and then acting on that, acting stupidly. And I don't use that word very lightly, but when we're in stupid mode is because we're not thinking logically. And then we look at the repercussions of that. you know, so then it creates this collective fear that then breeds story. No more gas. Okay, is that true? It's not true. And everybody's now activating off of this thing, and it takes a while to go back. Now it's going to take how long for the gas
Oh yeah.
companies to get enough gas to open back? And then you always see, just like the toilet paper crisis, you always see a certain amount of time. Once that trigger's been flipped, people are in that mode. And so it's going to take a while for the message to get out that there is no gas crisis. So as soon as they get more gas, it's going to sell out again.
Yes.
Until people start to calm down.
Correct.
Enough where we can find gas again. Well, I think toilet paper and gas are a little bit different. We can work around the toilet paper thing. It's a lot harder to work around the gas
thing. Yeah. You know, as you were saying that, all I could think about was, do we strive thrive rather on frenzies? Because we as soon as something triggers, we are oh, we gotta go. So what happens? I gotta hit Bill up. Hey Bill, how are you doing? And all others
Bill has thoughts on this, I'm sure.
And he was like, I wish good news traveled this fast. That is, you know, with gas. And then he says, same with wood, no real shortage. I haven't seen an empty Lowe's in the whole state. Stupid is as stupid as LOL. But here's the thing. We feed into, so in economics, we were in grad school economics, and we're talking about the economics of fear. Oh, it's such a beautiful thing for producers, because when they find that the demand is in a frenzy, what they do is they hike the prices. When they hike it up, they're like, hey, come and get it, and they just feed off that. It's the fear of somebody coming in my house that I buy the most expensive security system, alarm system. It's the and it's not wrong to do it. Don't get me wrong, but it's all that's the economics of fear.
Yes.
That we get the best life insurance, well, perceived best, and you must get life insurance. That's a good thing to do. I'm not against that, but there are a lot of things that we tend to purchase based off fear.
Yes.
And when we don't think it, now you said something, when we don't process, it was last week, 2 weeks ago, we talked about take the time to process. Take the time to process, because here's my son who drives Pizza Hut. You know, he's a driver, and he's on a quarter tank, and he goes, oh my goodness, it's first time ever happening in his life where he needs gas to go and work. And he says, what do I do now? I'm like, you better go sit down and park your car at the gas station and wait. He says, but I really need it. I said, yeah, you really need it, but here's the deal though. Here's the other option, son, and this option exists. I'm so sorry, I don't have gas, because all the other people who don't need gas are running to get gas, and he calls
the same people ordering pizza too.
And his manager said, well, when there's nothing we can do, if it happens, it's okay. But the dynamics of our frenzy, our fear of tissue, right, of gas in this 2021, where, and I'm biased because I work from home. There are some people, how do we say nurses, teachers get first dibs? You know what I'm saying? Is that utopian? Or how do we control? And you know, some people will say, well, when don't bring the control piece, but the individual who comes there with 10 gas cans, tell them, no, sorry, you can't do it. You can't.
Well,
is that greed?
That's what we had
greed
to do.
that kills us, man.
I would love to be able to go one step further where we don't have to control other people because we're under self-control. You know, that we're like, we look at our gas gauge and go, I'm full. I don't need to get gas right now. And I trust, I have faith and trust that by the time I need gas, it will be there. I mean, we need to start instead. I mean, it's how we sell too. Old school sales tactics
Ooh,
is what are the fear points? What are the pain points? Speak to their pain points. People
yes,
always say, Tracy, what are the pain points for your clients? I'm like, how if you ask me what the growth points are? What are the
the
benefits?
value.
The value,
Mm,
right? What's the value in me waiting so that the people who really need gas, I mean, interestingly enough, anytime normally when we need gas, we can get it. Why? Because people are waiting for when they need gas and not when they don't need gas. Why can't we do that under all circumstances? The only thing that triggered this recent, gas crisis, as it were, was talking about the pipeline. All the media had to do was mention one little thing. And people are like, oh God, that means gas. And they had already jacked the gas prices up before the pipeline thing happened.
yes,
The gas
yes.
prices were already capped, right? They were already going up. So I'm like, that looks a little funny right there. Like, we
Mm,
started rising and then this thing happens, like interesting. But at the same time, how come we can't still, still operate the same way? I mean, because either way, at some point, if we really did run out of gas, we would have to figure out something. Whether you have the 10 gas, full gas, you're still going to run out at some point, in which
ah,
case you're still going to have to figure out an alternative. Whether it's now or later, that doesn't
mm,
matter. So why not make
mm,
it available for everyone
mm.
during the period of time that we can share that resource? And then if we have to come up with another solution, we collectively do that together. No, the reptilian brain, I mean, as advanced as we've become in technology, and
Sorky,
as advanced as we've become in other areas, we actually, I see
primitive,
we're exactly where we've ever been. Like somebody asked me in a meeting the other day, a
primitive.
new connection of mine, he said, do you think it's worse than it's ever been? Because people keep using that statement,
Mm,
oh, things are worse than they've ever been.
mm.
And he asked me that, and I said, no. He goes, oh, thank you. I said, I wasn't living during the Wild West, at least not in this lifetime, but I can imagine it probably felt pretty scary at times.
Yup.
I didn't live in the dark ages, but I'm sure it probably felt pretty scary and pretty insecure. I mean, there has never been a time in history that we haven't had these cycle trends come through.
It's a fallen world. It's a fallen
We
world.
need to advance in
It's
how we deal with the shifts and changes in our life, not thinking that technology is going to evolve us. We have to use our inner gadgetry to start to evolve ourselves. And if we're constantly reacting to those little changes outside of us, the little carrots that are dangled, whether they're fear carrots or or motivation carrots, we aren't evolving. We're staying in the
mhm.
Stone Ages. We
Yeah.
haven't changed at all in that capacity.
So you talked, you were saying something, you were saying, oh my goodness. I love to be immersed in listening. And it's a good trait to listen, but then when you're listening and you are present as you're speaking, you tend to forget the previous thing the person said. You don't stake your mind there, because then you're not listening to the new information being put forward. But I think what it triggered, you said something, and people who are watching this, you need to go back, rewind, and get it. I don't need to do that because I already have it. um you said something that triggered what I was meditating yesterday or 2 days ago on controlling yourself. And what controlling yourself is telling yourself no. And the first thing that came to my mind was to go on social media and say, when was the last time you told yourself no? Meaning, do I need this? Do I need 5 gallons, no, 25 gallons of gas in my garage? This stuff evaporates. This stuff is hazardous to my house, that if I keep this amount in here, there's a possibility that I forget and I come outside and I smoke some and I could light it up, whatever it is, and which I don't wish on anybody, right? But when we can tell ourselves no, when we can say, no, I'm going to stop eating here. I'm going to stop eating right now because the next few spoons is gluttony. I'm gonna say no.
Mm.
I'm gonna say no to me running ahead of this person because it's courteous, is the right thing for me to do. Go ahead, you can go. I'm going to say no, that I don't have to go and get 500 gallons of gas because I don't need 500 gallons of gas. See, it comes with processing. When we can take our time to process and say, gosh, I use 16 gallons a week going back and forth. My car is at health. I'm just gonna go and do it and come and when you said it, have faith and trust that come next week. This bride showing again. Come next week. I'll be ready. It will be there. And if it's not there, so what? If it's not there, so
I'm no,
what?
yeah. Again,
We
we're
can't be
all in
prisoners.
this
We can't be
together.
prisoners to this system. We
Yes,
can't be prisoners
exactly.
to this system.
We're all in this together. If we all run out of gas, we do it together, right? Which means we all need I mean, that's what COVID did. COVID was a together thing. Nobody got to skirt out from underneath COVID. Everybody was affected a little bit differently depending on, your daily needs and all that stuff, but we
Yep.
all had to deal with it, right?
Yes.
I think
Yes.
that was a cue and a clue. There was no amount of hoarding we could do to get us from under
Mm-mm.
COVID. We all were going to experience collectively COVID worldwide, right? And so I think we need to remember that everything is no different than COVID, right? Is that we think, oh, if I hoard this, then I'll at least be set up. No, in fact, if anything, you're taking away from your neighbor. Do you really want to do it? And people are like, well, I don't care. At least I have what I have. I mean, again, let me go back to my original comment about the collective energy and I could feel fear.
Wow.
Is that whether we know it or not, when we go into this hoarding tendency of I at least need to take care of me and everybody else can take care of them, that attitude, when it's not necessary, is contagious. It's contagious. You start thinking only about me, somebody bumps up against me, picks up that energy, they start thinking all just about them. People become less gracious, people become less helpful, become less, empathetic, right? We need to start seeing the writing on the wall. All of these things we're experiencing, COVID, gas crisis, all of the things that we've been going through over the last 2.5 years, but not just even the last 2.5 years. Last 2.5 years have been the heat's been turned
Confirmation.
up. So we
Correct.
finally get the message, but it's been going on for the eternity. We need to start understanding what this means, not just keep repeating the same cycles over and over and over again. And it starts with exactly what you said, getting clear about what we need and saying no. Like I always say to my husband, I was like, why did you, I'm just curious, you could do whatever you want, but why did you eat that thing? He's like, because it was there. I'm like, you weren't hungry? Well, no, but it looked good. It was there. I'm like,
That's us. I do it.
that, okay, all right. That's like buying more gas than you need.
That's true.
Right.
That's
And
true.
so we don't even think about that because it doesn't seem like a big deal. Or like, whatever, it's cool. I ate an extra hamburger. Who cares? But it continues to perpetuate this inner process of just being like, I need to,
Hoarding.
if it's there, I need to just,
Hoarding.
hoard. It's hoarding. People don't like that word. I'm not a hoarder. Did you get extra gas when you didn't need it? You're a hoarder.
If
right?
you can't get rid of that friend who is sticking you in the back, is not good for you, and you keep the friend, you're hoarding.
You're hoarding. Thank you. I think we need to put a new definition on hoarding. And it's not just about the physical stuff in your home. It's about the practice.
You were talking and you said, selfishness becomes contagious, and you said that when it's not necessary, and it triggered the question, when is being selfish necessary, right? And I want to answer that, and I want to pose that question to you also. When is being selfish necessary? I think, because I was going to say, wow, you said when it's not necessary. I go, hold up. I think one of the best times when being selfish is, but this is humor, my sick
your sick humor.
my sick what you call it, my corny humor. I think one of the only times to be selfish is when you're in the airplane and you're about to go down and they say, cover your mouth first with the oxygen, then give it to your next. But I mean, I'm laughing at it, but that's not being selfish because you're not taking two oxygen masks. You
Correct.
are taking
What
one
you need.
and so on. But selfish as in, oh, I'm going to take care of myself first, versus the thing to do is take care of your kids. But no, it's you take care of yourself first, make sure you're good, and then you can be able to take care of the next person. But I think when it's necessary to be selfish is, and it's not, you see, it's not that word, you cannot, it's not about being selfish.
It's
It's
self-serving.
about taking care of yourself. I remembered in college, uh, there were parties going on at our house. So even my birthday party in grad school, but in undergrad, I remember my sister and girlfriend and wife now, they would say, "Oh, Owen, Sunday dinner, we're going to eat blah blah blah," and I go, "Sure, good. I'm not going to be there." "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to be in the library. I'm sorry, I am not coming. I need to study this calculus 3. I need to practice this physics 2. I need to do all of this in order for me to, because I know what I want." So when I say I, it's perceived as I being selfish, but it's not selfish. I'm 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 getting on that boat so that I can cross this river, be able to get my feet on the ground so I can get a bigger boat to come back and take you if you want to go with me. That's why I'm paddling this boat by myself and I'm not stopping to go to dinner with you because I don't think that's being selfish, right? But I come back to you, but using the word loosely, when is it necessary to be selfish?
Well, first of all, I love that you asked that question because I think it's absolutely was being called to be asked, and I look at it as a lot of times people say, oh, that's so self-serving, and I'm like, self-serving to me is a good thing. There's a difference. It's kind of like the difference between being childlike and childish,
Mm,
right? You want to be
mm,
childlike, you don't want to be childish,
ooh,
right? It's about, I think self-serving and selfish are different, right? To serve
mm,
thyself so that you can serve others is self-serving. Selfish is, again, what we were talking about before. When you hoard stuff just because you don't care what's happened to everybody else, you only care what happens to you,
wow.
right? And so I don't think it's ever good to be selfish, but I think it is good to be self-serving.
Right.
Again, if it's the understood pre-definition of self-serving. And like,
Mhm.
I have a statement: when you serve yourself, all else is served. And
Mm,
you elaborated it great with your story about going to get the boat.
mhm,
Is that, and it's the oxygen mask analogy, is that as I serve my needs, not my wants, my needs, when I serve my needs, and my needs may be that I need to go do these things in order to prepare myself to get that bigger boat,
mm,
right? Because that's my mission. Those become needs. Not everybody has the same, we have the same basic human needs, but then we also have other needs that are aligned with our soul mission that are
mhm,
different. So if I'm serving my needs so that I can serve my greater purpose, that's self-serving. That's not selfish. Because as I serve myself, I can now serve in the capacity that I'm meant to. I can serve the rest of the world in the capacity I'm meant to. So I think that it's this again, but it all boils down to faith and trust. First, we have to know what our mission is. How many people who can't answer the question, who am I? What are you
Traci,
doing?
Traci,
What are
Traci.
you doing?
I'm looking for an award. So the only thing I can find off my is it's a bike. It's a I think it's a Harley.
Oh,
Traci, I present this award to you for clarity. I present this award to you for just who you are in in breaking things down. Last week, Traci, we talked about eager and anxiety. Last week, we also talked, 2 weeks ago, we talked about anxiety and eagerness. We talked about, there were two words, we had a play on two words: reactionary process process. Gosh, God, help me, Lord.
It's
And it was
communication and
communication and
processing.
process. And yes, last week was anxiety and eagerness. Year to day, you've come and you've broken this down. And remember, I teased, I quipped 2 weeks ago that we will bring 2 words and you will explain those 2 words. Do you remember that? And here we are today. We are here talking about self-serving and selfish, and you have once again broken this down. And I cut you off, and you will start again because I trust you would. Please accept this Harley Award on clarity.
Oh, thank you. I love Harleys.
Oh my goodness! As you were saying, and I was writing down, I'm going selfish, self-serving. When I go to develop myself for my mission, for my greater good, versus selfish, I am hoarding things for self. It's not about, oh, girl, high five. Keep on going. Keep on going.
Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that. Well,
Woo.
and I think this is what we're all here to do, is to really lift people up in their geniuses,
Mm,
so that they
mm,
can be more intentional in those spaces, because
yes.
that's where they serve, right?
Yes.
Where our greatest value is in our genius. And
Mm,
I had a client a number of years ago. She says, you know what I think one of your geniuses is, Traci, is distinctions. I've always been that way. I can make a distinction between 2 words, 3 words, 5 words, like no
mm,
one's business, because it's just the
yes.
way my brain thinks. And I
Yes.
don't think I'm all that in a can of worms, but I do know that I'm good at that. And I think that that's the thing that we all want to bring out, is the more we model that it's okay to know our value, to
Yes.
know our genius, and to speak it forth. Because when we speak it forth, it's kind of, to me, it's like, if I had this product or service that I never marketed, how would people benefit from it?
Mm-mm. No way.
By me saying I'm really good at these things and I know it, I'm marketing that, hey, if you can benefit from that, I have it to offer,
To offer.
right?
Correct.
I'm marketing
Correct.
that within which my value is most valuable, and going to be hopefully most valued.
Mm,
So it really doesn't serve anybody when we play and play ourselves down and self-deprecate, because it
correct.
doesn't allow people to know where we can help them.
Wow. 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 So I'm going off tangent here, Traci, because that's what we do in
Right.
this sandbox. And I'm going to put a plug in here for you. You didn't ask me for this. I'm going to put a plug in here. Um, to those of you who you've gassed out, and when I mean gassed out, at a high level, also at a very high level. I'm not speaking about you're starting and you feel, oh, where do I go? No, no, don't go to Traci. Um, when you're at a high level, you've exercised, you've done all that you can, you're successful, and you're sitting thinking, what next? That's when you come. That's when you come to Trace, because she's gonna uncover your next levels, not just your next level, your next levels. So I just wanted to say that to people who are watching here. As you're walking this path and you come to a roadblock, it's not a quit sign, it's a pause sign. Traci is that police woman standing on the road, right? Decked up in your blues, and saying, "Hey, come this way. You need to go that way." And it's not her, um, from her perspective. She's going to use the tools she has that will extract that which you are in order for you to go down that path. Ah, ah.
Thank you, my friend. That was actually really well put, like that. I mean, I think, and that's what we do for one another.
Wow.
I could turn around and do a,
Wow, girl.
do a commercial for you as well, which, I think that's what we're really coming to realize as we engage with one another. One of my clients said this today. I was talking to him and he said, we're here to engage one another. We're
Mm,
here as human beings, we have so much power within us. And when
Oof.
we engage, when we look into each other's eyes,
Yes.
and we seek out that humanity in that other person, when we can reach for that humanity and find it, it triggers that within ourselves. And when we turn on our humanity, we are more powerful than any external, atomic bomb, anything we
Nuclear.
think of that has massive amounts of power. I mean, we could light up a power grid.
Yes.
Just with two people tapping into their humanity at a deep level. And I think that's what we're here to up level humanity. Is what he said to me. He said, I think, because we were talking about visionaries and how visionaries come to show, they're way showers or like, light showers in the sense of like what is it? What am I drawing a blank? A lighthouse.
Okay.
Helps the boats come into harbor.
Correct.
As they just shine a light out there, and if a boat needs it, it will follow it back to harbor. And I think that's what we do, is we show the way. And then for those people who are ready to follow, the way has been shown. But I think right where we are now is we all desperately want to tap back into that which makes us human, because it's our humanity that's our greatest superpower. And the other thing about that is, everybody's talking about these cultural trends towards microaggressions and how everybody's becoming uber sensitive, and you can't say anything for fear that someone's going to call you racist or call you this or call you that. And I said to them, I said, I never look at the storyline except for where it shows me a trend or a pattern. And I said, for centuries, we've become increasingly more desensitized. And I think we are in a time of resensitization. We're trying to resensitize ourselves from our desensitized placement because what happens when we're desensitized, we're totally unsensitized to our humanity. We hoard because we're not thinking about one another. We react, we fight back, we start looting other people's businesses when things go awry, because we're not thinking in terms of humanity, because we become so desensitized. And I think all this resensitivity is like, oh God, everybody's so sensitive now. I don't think it's that everybody is so sensitive. I think it's a trend towards resensitization. And it just shows us how desensitized we've become. And so as we turn on our internal mechanisms of sense, how we sense perception, right?
Correct.
You sense, and I love the way you sense, like you call up to God and the Holy Spirit, and that's your delivery system. And you are, your cellular structure is tapped in to becoming very acutely aware and sensitive to the vibrations that come through that space. And you've called through some amazing stuff when you and I have talked privately, even here, is just like, oh, Traci, something's coming through, the Holy Spirit wants me to tell you this. It's because you're sensitized to that. When we're sensitized, not only to ourselves and our own gadgetry, but to humanity, and we're picking up from I was sensitized to everybody around me going crazy yesterday. And that's why I had to reground, because I was so tapped into the collective.
Wow.
And I think that's the thing is, again, if we're going to be tapped in, we don't want to be tapped into something toxic, but collectively we create either what's toxic or what's healthy. And so but each one of us is responsible for our part of that. Am I going to create more of the toxicity, that's desensitizing our humanity? Or do I want to tap into what's going to resensitize us to being more humane with one another, where we're in this power place where we can create anything collectively that we choose?
Okay? I don't know. The Facebook feed said it stopped, but it's
of course
live.
It did.
It's live, but it's live on it says live on my platform, on my Zoom here, but we'll just keep on going. We'll just quickly turn this around and put it back on this medium here for people to watch the rest of it. Hopefully Facebook made a mistake, but you talked about, oh my goodness, Traci, you talked about us There's so much abundance here. There's so much abundance here. The 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 oil isn't depleted. The 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 sun ray will never stop. The sun will never stop shining. If we take a 5 billion gallon um, water tank to extract water from the Atlantic or from the Neuse River, it's going to keep on flowing. See, that mindset of there's enough around here for us is so important in the processing of my interaction with you. Because when I'm a consultant. I should be saying I. But here we are talking about, hey, this is go to Traci. Traci, if you stopped, this model here is needed in every situation, in our marriages, in our friendships, in our relationships at work, with our bosses, with your clients, etc. Because once we engage in that, I love Sandbox, because Sandbox just makes me feel childlike, like what you said, right? Because they're so free, there's there aren't preconceived of color, preconceived of mannerisms. When you do something, they look at you. It's like the way your dog, go and do this to your dog. They go, uh-huh. You're like, what? The child goes, what? That's new. What is that? Well, let's define it. But if our lens, and we define it from a place of love and not from a place of hate, of evil, of mine,
Fear.
the kinds of things that we can create, as you stated, the things that we'll create will be mind-boggling. And when you talked about the strength that we have, it was something that God told me about 4 or 5 years ago. He says, Wulwyn, anything that's dying, anything that's fizzling out, as you engage it, I'm giving you the ability to make it live again. And you will make it live again to a point that it's as if they have nuclear energy, more powerful than nuclear energy. And you said it. We are so much more powerful, Traci, when we operate in a space.
Yeah.
Any space, both spaces, good and evil. You can become powerful in those places, but
Yeah.
we talk about mission-driven things, the purpose-driven life, right? When we operate in that space, Traci, oh my goodness, the things that we create, legacy.
It's the legacy piece. Exactly. And it's like, thinking, what legacy do I want to leave behind? I mean, that all boils down to the decisions I'm making right now. And are they selfish or are they
Mm,
self-serving? Because as I serve myself, all else is served. It's interesting. I
mm,
had a one-to-one the other day with one of my buddies, Dino Skirlos, who I just love. Dino. I mean, he
okay.
is one of the coolest guys. He's actually sat in on a couple of our eavesdrops and
Okay.
is a supporter and just a great guy. And he's a fractional VP of sales.
Okay.
So he's a sales guy, but he just is, I don't know, just his energy is fantastic. And so we were catching up and kind of, he's like, oh, who would you like to meet? And he promised to put me in touch with a couple people. I said, well, what can I do for you? And he's like, well, I got this workshop that I'm doing, a sales workshop. And I was like, well, shoot me the information. I'd love to put it out to my network. And,
Okay.
me, I'm mostly on LinkedIn. And so I put together, a thoughtful post, supporting him because I just believe in what he does. And I think he does it very well.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to do that naturally, not just because I said I would, and not just because he said he would introduce me to two people, but because I'm like, hey, I've got a network of people that could benefit from your value.
Yes.
Put it out there. And he said to me, we're in a networking group together, and we have this thing where we do thankmonials, where if somebody's helped us in some way, we thank them publicly.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Traci put this post up and he said, we had to cap it out. He's like, within a day we had like 10 people. and
Mm.
and it's,
Wow.
and they were giving away a free lunch, so they could only do so many people for this thing. And and that's the power
Mm,
of being able to do that, because again, it's not, I think we're always told to serve others, and we don't serve others for the sake of serving them.
mm,
I believe it's
mhm.
not just about how can I help you out, brother. It's literally about what value do I see in you that I can tap into and know I can feel that value. I know that value. I've crystallized that value inside of myself. And then I communicate that, not from a place of just helping you out, but from a place of knowing where your value is valuable and will
Mm,
be valued by other people. And then the posts come from that space and the share comes from that space. And people are like, whoa, this is valuable. Not just because Traci said so,
correct.
but because
Correct.
I was just a catalyst and a vehicle for them finding this value that was very valuable for them. So, I think that's what we want to think about, is that this isn't about, oh, how great Traci is and how, or how great any of us are because we've helped
Mhm.
somebody out. But when I hear people say just like, oh, I'm just here to help, I'm like, that's plain small in my mind. We're not here
Mm,
to simply help. We're here to tap into the humanity of the other person, gain and extract the value that they have, crystallize the knowledge of that value within us, and then share from that place. It's sharing, it's not helping. We're here to share other people's brilliance, but we don't know
yes.
what that is until we take the time to process that.
Ooh, ooh. But I don't want, I want to meet, I want to do the business card. Ps, 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 ps. I want to go wide and shallow.
Mhm.
That's what people think this thing is. It's about, I want to market, I want to scream to as many people, but that thing doesn't, it may work, but where it works, and as you stated, is and I don't need to restate what you said. I just need to process what you said. And here's my process. When in my following, I have similar people, period. You can look at my LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever it is. Over time, 90%, 95% will be people who have similar ideologies, similar behaviors as I do, which means we understand the same language. The benefit of networking, the benefit of, as you stated, assisting someone in your tribes, I'll call those people my tribe, is when I speak to Traci, and this is me processing what you said, Traci. When I speak to Traci and understand Traci, and I don't flippantly pick up the pen and write, but I process my response about Traci. And when I state that response, the people in my tribe understand my language. They know when I speak, they go, oh my goodness. And when I can just say, hey, Traci, the value she does is blah, 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 and blah. They don't need any more conversations. They don't need to go and investigate who Traci is, because we all speak the same language. And the thing about it is we trust each other in this tribe. The people trust you in your tribe. It was why when you stated that thing to them, and that's the benefit of real networking, because the 10 people who went, or let's just say the 50-60% of the people who read that and were like, oh my goodness, Traci has I really want to go, but because of time, I really can't go to that this time. Next time I'll go. Those people are in tune with you, Traci. They are so in tune with you. They understand you, they know you, and all they're waiting for is the true words. Because yet again, Traci, yet again, here's the flip. If you meet John Doe today and you go and you put something about John Doe on your LinkedIn, your tribe, your tribe will be like, "Hmm, skip," because they know when your heart is in it, and they know when your heart isn't in it. They know when you're trying to just check a box, or they know when you're doing it for doing it for who you are.
Yep. And my
Oh.
tribe knows I don't do anything just for checking a box.
Mhm.
And I think that's it. And Dino said, the power of Traci's network. I think what it is, it's the power of how we connect with our network. And it's not just about me. I mean, we all can do this if we take time to process and be discerning with,
Yes.
part of it is it's not just me. And it's not that I disregard when people share, just, how they don't say anything. They just share your post. And so, and that's good. Like they're doing something, right? Which we appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
But how much can we charge ourselves to actually say, if we really want to support someone? I mean, again, because we may not, if we get honest with ourselves, we maybe say, oh yeah, I kind of led them to believe that I would, but really, I don't know if I do want to share their stuff, because maybe it's not the level that I want to share or be associated with or whatever. We have to be true to that, because
Correct.
if we're just sharing willy-nilly, just for the sake of saying I helped a brother out, we're not really helping any brother out. We're not creating, you said it so well. People come to know what kind of value your voice has.
Mm-hmm.
And people know how picky I am about what I share. So they already know that. It's like, if Traci's going to take the time to share something,
Correct.
she's already worked through it to the nth degree. I mean, I got back in touch with them. I was like, hey, by the way, when you have a date that goes back to March on your little, Eventbrite thing, I think you meant to say May or whatever. I mean, that's me taking time
I'm correct.
to actually, look through the information I'm sharing to make sure that information makes sense. So again, I'm not saying everybody, but when we do this, going back to how we first started this conversation about building a place of security, we first have to become secure within ourselves. One of the things we do in order to do this is to know that what we say is what we mean and what we subscribe to and what we believe in, right? Because we create that security. And then by us doing that, we become the rock. It's when you used to play as a kid, or maybe we still do this. BJ Davis, she still does this, I bet. She does this play with adult thing. And if you guys don't know BJ Davis, look her up on LinkedIn. She's great. But BJ, they do play, they do the adult play stuff. And we used to play tag as kids. We always had a safe place, right? And if you could, whether it was a rock or a tree or whatever, why did we always choose rock? Why didn't we choose a stick? Well, because somebody could step on the stick and break it, and then we don't have a safe place. We chose rocks and trees because they were substantial. They were solid. You couldn't move them, right? They're secure. They're safe. When you create yourself as a rock or a tree that can't be moved, you're safe. And in this world of constant change and insecurity, we're looking for that. We're looking for that safe place. But again, we're looking out there, created in here, so that the people that you bump up against and your energy gets contagious with, you're picking up security. You're picking up confidence. You're not picking up this insecure, oh my God, there's not enough gas in the world. I mean, don't be putting that out, folks. It's contagious. Put the secure stuff out there. Know what you're doing. Think, process. Like we're just furthering the conversation from last 2 weeks.
Traci, I tell you. So Facebook just said, we're sorry, we technical blah 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 blah. But I just told them that we are going to just complete this, do our recording, edit it quickly and put it out there for them to see. Traci, man, I want to become a better person. And in order for me to become a better person, I'm finding out that I should not, and this goes, you said it again 2 weeks ago, it goes back to not being reactionary. The reptilian, as you said, part of your brain where you survive or hoarding, etc. And I think for me to become a better person, it's me processing and taking my time. And you'll be amazed at my daughter. She, since they're doing school from home, and it starts at 7, there's a tendency that you start at 7, you stay in your room, and you stay in your room until 1, until school completes. And I can't stand that. We're not living in a YMCA. You find me and tell me good morning. Find me and tell me good morning, because I'm dad and she's mom. So you come and speak. So I told her, I said, don't do this again. Don't come to me at 3 p.m. when you're ready to go to basketball practice and say, oh, dad, I'm leaving. I said, you've been living in my house. You slept in my house. You come and you see me. You say, good morning, dad. And she's looking at me like, I'm like, oh, yes. That's what we had to do with our parents. We had to speak in the morning and speak at night. Um, and she did it yesterday. No, she did it day before. I warned her day before. Yesterday, not until 11, she comes in and says, good morning, dad. And I go, oh, I say, yes, it is morning, but sweetheart, it's too late in the morning. When were you up? This is a mistake. Good morning. You need to come and look for me. But here's what I'm trying to say about processing and not being reactionary. Reactionary Wulwyn would have said, give me every single device you have, put it in my room, and I'm done with you. Blah, 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 blah. What processed Wulwyn did, and it was so hard, Traci. It was so hard. I was waiting here. I was in the room here studying, and I look at the time, 9. I look at the time, 10. I look at the time, and I said, this girl, I wanted to go in the room and just take her stuff. I started to think on different ways, but then I said, just wait. And when she came in the room, and after she said it, I looked at her and I told her, I said, next time, even if you don't come to tell me, you will tell me what I need to do to you in order for you to remember this again. And Verlin and I were talking. I know I'm kind of long-winded here, but I'm trying to make this. Me and Verlin were talking, and I said, honey, I Jazz didn't come to me in good enough time, but she came at an okay time. And she says, what were you going to do? And I said, I was going to pray and ask God to give me best, the best solution to chastise her, because I know it would have been done in love and not from my perspective, because then she would have completely learned what it was. So that's my spew on me being processing driven rather, and not being reactionary.
I think
And
that's wonderful. And it's also about, like, if you ever see dog trainers working with dogs, humans are really not very different than dogs, in a lot of ways. And we reward the good behavior. So even if it's a fractional of an inch in the right direction, we reward it.
yes.
So when Jazz comes and she's done just a little bit better, honey, that's great. This is so much better than you coming at 3 o'clock. Thank you. Next time, can you come a little bit early? Because this is why that's important, right? But we reward that behavior, right? We're so used to being in a culture that just chastises anything less than perfect.
Yes.
And so people stop trying, and then we give these mixed messages where there's no such thing as perfect, but we're going to chastise you when you're not perfect. Okay, then why do I even bother? And we wonder why people just go,
wow.
Right? Because we're not rewarding properly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I celebrate you processing. I think that's
thank you.
fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. What's your last word, dear? What's your last word?
What I'm loving in as these develop is having faith and trust of the through line. This morning when I was like, I wanted to give you a wide berth so you weren't stressed. And I was like, oh, we'll just cancel. But then I thought, that's not my call. He may want to make this work. Right. So I'm just going to wait. And I'm a person who doesn't normally do that. Like without even thinking, because I'm visionary. So I think, oh, I see the best angle. And it's like, it kind of reminds me of when I got that download early on in my coaching career. And I realized I was seeing and hearing things, but it wasn't my job to just tell people, oh, you need to take a left and right and go straight and tell them what to do because of what I could see. It was more me being a guiding force and holding that vision. And then they get to choose how they want to operate within that. And I set framework and parameters, you know, that kind of helps keep them in the lane. But that was a really good reminder for me that, you know, I'm not here to make the decisions for a partnership. Like if the partner says, I'll be there, right? It's not for me to go, oh, well, let me make it, you know, because that's like almost enablement. Like when we do with our kids, it's like, Mom, I want to shoot that goal. And it's like, oh, well, I know you're not really that good in soccer and maybe you might not. I mean, that's not my job. If he's going to go for the goal, I'm there to support it.
Yep.
So that was my takeaway today from just learning how to kind of be in my rightful zone within a partnership and say, if I need to last minute put out the communications that it's not going to work, I'm ready to go. But I'm not here to proactively be making a decision for the whole partnership, that I get to trust that it's going to be exactly what it needs to. And I see that that happens also in our communication, like more and more and more every 2 weeks, our conversation just picks up where we left off.
Correct.
And so there's this stronger and stronger through line that I'm sensing, and that'll just comes because we have faith and trust that it will.
Yep. Hey, thank you, Traci, and I appreciate your call, and I laughed because I know I knew you were like, I wonder, and I said, you know, we'll make it happen. I'm gonna make it happen regardless. I would have been in this. Oh, it was such a beautiful view. It was in this gym that had maybe 30-foot ceilings. There's a hangar, almost an airplane hangar of material to exercise and stuff. And I would have just turned that thing around and we would have done it there. Really. But I appreciate you, and to all of you eavesdroppers, you take care, and we'll see you in the next 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.